Welcome to By Generations, for Generations, a podcast commemorating 50 years of the Singapore investment company Temasek, and to celebrate the people who have been part of its journey. Temasek was set up in 1974 to take over a collection of 35 companies from Singapore's government in the wake of the country's independence. This allowed the government to focus on its core role of policy making and regulations. Since then, Temasek has evolved from a holding company to a global investor. And while the company is still based in Singapore, it's supported by 13 offices in 9 countries across the world, where the company's dynamic team keeps Temasek moving forward. Today, we meet Mr. Lim Boon Heng, who joined Temasek in 2012 as director of the board and a year later became chairman. Prior to this, he was a Secretary General of National Trade Union Congress and held several cabinet positions in the Singapore government from 1993 to 2011. He's been instrumental in developing Temasek Tripartite Conversations, or TTC, which facilitates industry-wide discussions between government agencies, trade unions, and Temasek portfolio companies. These are the parties shaping Singapore's workforce. And as the pace of change picks up, solid relationships and communication are key to navigating the future in a way that benefits everyone, which is why TTC has become so important. Lim Boon Heng tells us how his vast experience working with trade unions has informed the job he's been doing at Temasek and gives advice on how to make positive changes in the workforce.
When I went to school, I was taught that we should grow up to be useful for other people. We should grow up to serve other people. And so when I went to work, then it translates into how are you useful to the organization? How are you useful in your work to improve the lives of other people? How, in what I do, can make life better for Singaporeans? And therefore, if I come into Temasek, then that purpose just simply carries on. If somebody asked me to do something, I would almost immediately have an answer yes or no. But when I was invited to join the Temasek board, I hesitated and I took time to think about it, and it took me 1 month to deliberate whether I should undertake this invitation. My impression was that this was a dynamic organization, always looking forward, always looking at what might go right and also what might go wrong. An organization that was constantly on its toes. An organization that wanted to do well for itself and therefore for the country. So in the end, I decided, yes, I should give it a try. And in this instance here, my hesitation was because I knew very little about investing. And Temasek had a sizable portfolio. So in the end, the reason why I decided on yes was my belief that so long as you have good people running the organization, then the organization should do well. And therefore, my job should be to ensure that Temasek always have good and capable people running the organization, and people with the right values that would achieve the purpose of the organization. Every year, we have to learn new things in order to keep abreast of the changes that are happening around the world. And if the company is going to invest in a particular new area, then we must understand enough to be able to write the decisions for the organization. As a board, we need to know enough to make the right decisions. So every year is a learning journey. I've had a number of experiences in my previous working career. I worked in management. My first job was with Neptune Orient Lines. I was for 10 years with that organization. Then, of course, I was with the trade union movement for 30 over years. And I understood what it is that people are looking for. What are the aspirations and hopes of people, and also what their fears are. And I thought that this understanding of people's hopes and fears and aspirations and the problems that they might encounter would be useful in Temasek. My style of doing things would be that I prefer to act as a bridge wherever possible. Having been in management and understanding management's perspective of doing things or what needs to be done, having worked with the workers and understanding their hopes and aspirations and their fears, then I have been able to perform the role of a bridge between the two. When I first joined the trade union movement, Singapore was just starting out to computerize. And working with unions and workers, I knew that people were very frightened of computers. So then our role in the trade union movement was, how do you help workers to overcome this fear of change? And we started a computer appreciation program, a 10-course program. We got the workers to join this program. Lesson number 1 was to touch the keyboard so that they quickly overcome the fear of interacting with the machine. And the second lesson was how to play the game Pac-Man. And after they played Pac-Man, they were hooked, and that fear of computers evaporated. And so Singapore was able to successfully computerize without unions and workers obstructing the adoption of computers. There is always change, and companies have got to adapt to change or grow with change. And with change, that means that there's always something new. And the fundamental issue in the mindset of people is that, can I cope with change? What if I cannot cope with change? And that comes from ignorance. So therefore, a lesson I learned was that you've got to help people to understand what is this new thing that they have to deal with. When they understand, then that fear goes, and therefore they will not obstruct. And better still, if you can also show them that by the adoption of new knowledge and new tools, they can do a better job and earn a better income. In the ideal world, managements would be in constant dialogue with the workers' leaders or union leaders and their employees about change. Unfortunately, this is not the case. And so this is where I think the Temasek tripartite conversations play a key role in providing that platform for people to sit down and have a discussion on a subject. Why was there a need to set up these tripartite conversations? It's because there's always constant change, and the pace of change is getting faster and faster. So there will always be new things, and it is necessary, if our portfolio companies are going to do well, they have got to transform. And when they have to transform, they have to bring the workforce along with them. And to assure the workforce that this change does not necessarily mean that they will lose their jobs, but they can actually, if they undergo retraining, move on to a better job. So you must give workers that sense of security in order for our portfolio companies to transform successfully. In one of the years when we had the tripartite conversations, our topic was sustainability or climate change. So we brought union leaders, the management, and the relevant government agencies that are in charge of those sectors together to discuss climate change and then to understand what needs to change in Singapore, how it affects the company, and what companies need to do, how it will affect workers in terms of the skill sets which they have, and also at the same time to see what kind of policy initiatives there might need to be in order to help the companies to transform. So the conversations were very important for them to get the same common understanding of the issues and then to move forward. And the key point here is that having a common understanding is the start. After that, what must follow is continuing dialogue among the partners to see how they should progress going forward. So our role is to bring people together in the process to build relationships and then to enable them going forward to continue the dialogue, which they, and then for the changes, they themselves would have to make the change. Generative AI is certainly going to impact companies and going to impact jobs. And it is said that almost 50% of all jobs will be affected. So all the more reason that the conversations must be ongoing. And so we provided that the platform. We brought the experts to the forum, and then we provided the opportunity for management, union leaders, as well as the relevant sectors, government organizations to sit down to discuss the subject of change. And I think that the generative AI is just one of the things that we are going to face. In the future, there will be other changes that will come, and I believe that the Temasek tripartite conversation will be an ongoing activity for our portfolio companies. With successful companies, we will have a successful portfolio of Singapore companies that contributes to our own goals, which in turn contributes to the welfare of Singapore. I've always felt that I benefited from the work of a past generation. So the fact that I was able to go to university was the work of a past generation that enabled me to do that. Then I have seen that it is the constant goal of the government to provide a better life for people, not only for now, but also for the future. And when I joined Temasek, in one of the panels hanging on the wall that I read was the quote from Mr. Rajaratnam, that we do things today with tomorrow in mind. And that reminds me of how the Singapore government has always operated, operating not only just for today, but always for tomorrow, making sure that our children and grandchildren can have a better life. I hope that Temasek will always be a forward-looking organization, always looking out for the changes that might come, always looking to see how we can take advantage of that change in our investments so that we can contribute to a better life for people wherever we operate, and in doing so, earn good returns for the company that then contributes to the betterment of Singaporeans. so every generation prospers.
You've been listening to By Generations, for Generations, a podcast commemorating 50 years of Temasek. To learn more stories about the people who have been part of the company's journey, head to Temasek's 50 by 50 website, tmsk.sg/50 by 50. That's 50x50. Next time, we meet a key player in Temasek's charitable initiative, T-Touch.
To be able to give back and to be able to contribute and make a difference is important.
Until then, goodbye.